Hello, welcome to episode 7 of Last Ditch Effort. My name is Pacasha, and this is my podcast about using up my stash, which is all right here. It's been a minute. I kind of picked a bad season of my life to start a podcast. Let me just move this a little bit. Things are in a bit of upheaval. You probably won't notice, but we actually switched the office and my daughter's bedroom, so this is all completely backwards, for lack of a better word. And in that process, I actually got rid of quite a bit of my stash, which I was kind of on a roll beforehand, but yeah, just kind of getting in there and having to actually physically move it from one room to another. You kind of know what goes on the lifeboat and what doesn't. So I guess that leads me to numbers. When I started this podcast, I had 319 entries in Ravelry, and that went up a little bit, but I don't really acquire yarn anymore, so that's not going to be a trend. But now I am at 259 entries, and I think that's pretty good. A lot of that yarn is going to a really good home. So somebody who also crafts, and I think that'll be great. So yay! Hope you're enjoying it, Renee. I also went through all of my knitting books because everything had to move. You know, it's only one room, over, and it's exactly the same layout, just reversed. So it pretty much stayed the same, except just that inevitable, like, feeling of whatever. And then I was reminded of something from the book Goodbye Things. That's by Fumio Sasaki. He talks a lot about everything in your house being a silent to-do list. And I was really feeling that as we were moving rooms. Every ball of yarn was a project that I hadn't done, and it was making me feel guilty and overwhelmed, and kind of like I had to live forever now because it's just not going to get done. And that was really anxiety making for me. So I went through a lot of yarn, and I actually went through my queue and my library in Ravelry, and I got rid of like a lot of those PDFs that you just kind of pick up here and there thinking you're going to use them, but you don't. And I noticed among all of my Ravelry friends, I had a substantial library, and it was almost like, oh no, it wasn't almost, it was exactly like I was hoarding these patterns that I was probably never going to use. And once again, every time I would go into my library or my queue, I would just see things that I felt I was behind on making. I was obligated to make it and I wasn't doing it, therefore I was a failure. And I know that's not the case, but our brains are kind of mean to us sometimes. So anyway, so I cleaned all that out, cleaned off my actual physical knitting bookshelf, and there was kind of a publishing glut of knitting books, like probably about 10-15 years ago. And at that time, I did not have money for all of these amazing books that were coming out. It was mostly, I think, Interweave Press that was putting out tons of them. And since I found thrift books in the last few years, I've actually acquired quite a bit of them. And now that I'm actually going through and trying to plan projects, I'm finding either they're not very size inclusive, and that's important because I'm a big girl, and I like to have that option. And they're just like things that may be nice, but that I didn't really want to put the time and effort into knitting, or I didn't have the yarn. And that's really what I'm trying to focus on, is I have a lot of good yarn that I'm very excited to use. And that's my number one priority, is finding projects for the yarn, not finding a project that may look interesting and then me having to go out and buy a bunch of yarn for something that I may or may not like. Because patterns are cheap, but yarn is not. Especially if you're kind of snobby about yarn like I am. Anyway, so that's just, anyway. Also on that note, I guess, my mom came by yesterday and went through my accessories drawer and cleaned me out of a lot of mitts and hats and things like that. So I kind of feel like I have permission, for lack of a better word, to knit some more things. So I'm excited about that. And yeah, I don't know. It feels good. I feel like it's almost like a reset, not like a factory reset, but still a reset. Like, I don't know. It makes a difference. It really does. It kind of cleared out the cobwebs. We'll put it that way. Um, and so with that in mind, I'm doing a little project where I'm trying to make 10 of 5 different types of items, and I've talked about this before. And I do have one FO today that ticked another thing off the list, but right now, before the end of the year, I need to finish one sweater, and I'm thinking I might do a Felix cardigan out of some Peace Fleece. Oh, that was my stomach growling. I really apologize for that. Anyway, Peace Fleece, Felix cardigan. I don't really want to deal with a button band, so I may just make it like have, I don't know, one button or hold it with a stick, that type of thing. Buttons are much more versatile for me at this time of my life because I get overheated very easily. And in fact, I didn't mention this, but I am not wearing any knitwear at all. It's not hot outside. It's very windy and blustery, but I am having a day today where I don't even have socks on. Like, yeah. Anyway, so I need to make one sweater, cardigan, whatever, and that will finish my 10. I have 2 spots open in the mitts and mitten section, which is good because my mom took a lot. So I have a few in my works in progress that will finish that off. Yeah, anyway, it will. And then I'm finished with hats. I have one more pair of socks to finish, and once again, that will be done pretty soon. And then I have 2 like shawls or cowl type projects to do out of the 10. And one of them I'm working on, and the next one I have an open space, and maybe we'll talk about that. I don't know. Let's see what happens. Okay, so I do have an FO. Just one, even though it's been 2 weeks. I know I said it would be 1 week, but it's 2. I have to live with it. You do too, or not. Whatever. Okay, so this is the Hapkerchief by Gudrun Johnston. And I've made one before, and I used like really deep colors that matched a lot of the darker things in my wardrobe. And this one is a lot more pinky beige. And I don't know, it's kind of hard to tell. Usually on the camera you can tell value differences easier than, with just using your eye. Let me put that magazine down. So it's really hard to see. Anyway, it sits nicely here. Just exactly how you'd like it without it being too bulky. And I used palette. I think I used Finley heather, Oregon coast heather, and maybe some coriander heather. And then a Jamison and, is it Jamison? Yeah, Jamison and Smith 2-ply in pink 95 is the color number. So it's just a nice little cowl. Using, I don't know if this is Feather and Fan or Old Shell. I don't remember, but so you can see like there's little stripes in this section. I don't know if you can see that very well, but I think it's really nice. And just a nice little subtle thing that will probably wash me out, but I like it, and it's in colors that I sometimes like to wear. But Mom cleaned me out of everything. Not everything, a lot of things. So that's going in that drawer. Actually, I have a separate place for cowls, and I will bring them all and show you sometime. Maybe that can be the next episode, and you can see all the things that I wear a lot or like to knit, because I have a lot of repeats. I'm a repeat knitter for sure. It's like a comfort thing, I guess. I don't know. And also it's just fun. Like, I think it's fun. Like with this one, I'm playing with totally different colors than the previous one I made. And I'm inspired to do even more. I like this is exactly the kind of project that I will not only wear, but enjoy making. So I think that's a win, and I don't feel pressure to always do something different. Yeah, anyway. This is like a much creakier like floor, and the chair's creaky already, so there may be some growing pains in this place, but that's okay. All right, so that's my finished object. And now I'm going to talk about some FOs. And we'll start with the one that I've been working on the longest, and it's a pair of socks for my daughter Nio. And this pattern is called Crocus Vernus, and it's from the Knitter's Curiosity Cabinet Volume 1. And where that little egg roll is was where I was last time, and I'm all the way down to about to start decreases. I need to try it on her. She wears pretty much the same size as I do, and I think we're there. So it's turning out really pretty. And the yarn is Orange Flower Yarns. I don't know what base or the color because it came in a mystery grab bag. But Orange Flower makes some really beautiful yarns if you like superwash type sock yarn. Anyway, so, and that is in a little bowl that my husband made. And I use size 0 knit picks, the wooden DPNs. That's my standard sock needle choice. Okay, let's see if I can put this here without jiggling everything. Nope. The next work in progress that I've had going for a bit is, I think it's based on a Sam Lamb shawl. I'm not using a pattern because I am using it according to the yarn that I had. So it's essentially like a sock monkey work sock type shawl. And so it's using Knit Picks palette in asphalt tweed, or not tweed, twist for the main part of the shawl. And I'm doing 2 full balls of just a standard triangular shawl. And I'm on the second ball. And when I get to the end of this, I'll have a thin white stripe, and then a thin red stripe, and then a big, not white, natural, like some sort of edging. So it uses those sock elements. And I'm going to call it my Barred Rock shawl because I'm a chicken person. I used to have chickens. I don't anymore for many reasons, mainly wildlife. But barred rocks are some of my favorites. They're the really pretty black and white speckledy ones, and they have really bright red cones and oh my gosh, wattle things. Menopause is rough today. All right, the next work in progress is a pair of socks for my mom. I talked about them last time when I was talking about using up sock scraps. So this is just a stripy sock using a couple of yarns that I don't know what they are. I think I might have dyed this one. I don't know. I don't know what this one is, I think. I don't know. And then I have a little bit of Knit Pick Stroll that I'm using for possibly, well, I definitely use it for the ribbing, and I might use it for the heels, toes, and cuffs type thing. So they're just little simple socks. The second sock probably won't match because I don't know if I have enough yarn to make it match perfectly, but that's okay because I can work some little design magic into it and they'll still be cute. And my mom doesn't really care about that sort of thing. So purple because she likes purple. Let's see what else. Okay. The next work in project, or my last work in project, I'm actually going to have to frog and reknit. This is a pair of mittens that I have had in my queue for years, literal years. I have tried making them before, and the gauge was off. And once again, the gauge is off. My gauge is off. So I'm going to have to pull it out and use smaller needles, but I am motivated to still stick with this project. So this is the pattern. I used to have the magazine this came in. So it's called Green Autumn, but it's also called Druid Mittens. And it's by Jared Flood, and it's got like lots of cables and baubles, and it's just a really beautifully textured mitten. And yeah, so I got the cuff done. Let me put that down. So I'm using Jamison and Smith. This colorway is FC12 Mix. And it's a great, oh gosh, that's gorgeous, isn't it? It's just a mix of like scuzzy little mossy green and yellow colors. And this is the cuff, and you can kind of tell it's pretty substantially, like, it's big. So I'm gonna reknit that in smaller needles. I think right now I'm using size 2.5 or 3. I don't know the millimeters on that, but I'm gonna have to go down to size 0, I think, which is 2.0 millimeter. Yeah, so that's gonna get pulled out and reknit soon, I think, maybe. This might be a project that counts towards my thing. It may not be. I don't know. So while I was going through everything, I pulled out my new Shetland Wool Week guide that just came, actually. And I really didn't get a chance to look at it when it came in because things are still crazy and overwhelming here. So I was instantly drawn to, well, just about everything in here. But there's this one pattern, actually it's kind of a challenge, by Hazel Tindall in here, and it's called Tack Six Kloos. I don't know how to say that. But essentially she took 6 balls of like Jamison and Smith or Jamison of Shetland, whatever. 6 balls anyway, 6 different colors. And she tried to see how many hand warmers she could get. The same pattern, just kind of jiggling the colors around. And I thought that was fun. That's exactly the kind of knitting that I like to do. So this is going on the needles next, and I will show you the first batch. Oh, don't move the thing. The first batch of colors. Sorry. The first batch of colors that I picked. It's a circus in here. So I'm not going to pull these out. These are a mixture of palette, Jamison, and just like scraps. They're not 6 full balls, so I'm just going to keep going until I'm bored of it or I run out of yarn. But I went with purple and green and just some neutral colors. Purple and green I think look pretty fabulous together. It looks like flowers. So make some of those, and yeah. And then while I was going through all of my palette, and I have a lot of palette, Knit Picks palette, there is a color combination that I keep seeing, and every time I see it, I have to make something from it, but I never do. And so I'm gonna. And so I pulled out 2 colors, and these aren't exactly the 2 colors that I want in this kind of combination, but essentially it's like an olive green with like a turquoise. And this one is Caper, and this one is Tranquil. And I would prefer actually to use, what's the color called? Clover. It's a little bit more of a slightly truer green. Only slightly though, but I'm all out of that, or I don't have enough of that. I have a little bit, but not much. So we're gonna try this, and I will probably use a smelly, good gracious, a Spilly Jane mitten pattern. She has a lot, and I own a lot of them, and she has even free ones up on knitty.com. But yeah, she does beautiful patterns, and they seem to fit me okay, even though there's not a thumb gusset. I don't know. We'll try it. Or I may use a totally different pattern. I'm not sure, but I do like Spilly Jane mittens. Just saying. Anyway, so I think that'll be a fun little project. It's kind of a weird combination, but I do see it a lot, and it's just always like speaking to me. And so I figured it's time. I do like to wear green a lot. Maybe not so much turquoise, but I do like teal. So I don't know. Some part of my reptilian brain loves this, and so I'm doing this. All right, that might be it. I don't know, like, I don't really have much else to talk about other than things are okay. Moving things around, I think, has helped just once again doing a reset. We all kind of need a reset. Not just about yarn, but back to the yarn. So I moved this over from the other room, and it was just kind of cathartic. Like I had been going through it for weeks now. Well, I don't know, constantly. I go through my yarn, and I still feel like I could do it again, but I don't know. I was just able to really let go a lot this time. Realize that I have things in my life that I want to do that don't involve knitting, so maybe I need to let go of knitting a little bit. Anyway, something that's catching my eye that you might be interested in is this jar up here. Let's just change the topic because I don't want to get too deep. This, on Ravelry, there's a group called Knit Picks Lovers, and I'm not active in it at all anymore, but a few years ago I was. And every now and then somebody would buy all the palette colors and make a little sampler. And so these are every single color of palette, Knit Picks palette, and that's like one of my favorite yarns. So it's kind of like when you get a new box of crayons when you're little. If I feel like I just want to play with some color, I do this. I just pull them all out and I put things together and I see what I want to do, which, yeah. So if I'm having a bad day, you'll know I'm having a bad day if you walk into my house and you see me surrounded by things like this and me trying to put colors together and projects together, and then I end up not doing 90% of them, but it's still like a fun thing that I will continue to do. Anyway, so now, suffice to say, now Knit Picks, oh my God, I need to probably just stop. But anyway, Knit Picks does shade cards, so you don't have to do this. Like this cost me not a lot, but I mean, we would all go in and, pay however much, and somebody would hand wind these, and it was a lot of work, and I don't know. I just think it's cool. So previously this didn't fit in there. It was on a shelf. And now I have so much more wiggle room in here that I can put it up here, and that's great. I was able to get rid of quite a lot of yarn, or let go of it. That's the trick. It's easy to get rid of yarn, to lose yarn, I don't know. It's harder to actually let go of the idea of what that yarn means, because a lot of times I've noticed, at least for me, when I'm on a buying spree, especially with yarn or craft supplies of any kind, fabric too, you're buying, thinking that you're buying the time to actually finish the project, and that's not the case. It's actually taking away your time and your mental focus and energy to think about it and to let it just sit there, and I don't know, it makes me feel so wasteful. So I pass on a lot of stuff, so that can be either somebody else's project or problem or project. So okay, we don't have to talk about that part anymore. It's just such a big deal in my life right now. I don't know why. I think I'm hyper focusing on my yarn stash instead of some other stuff, and I mean that makes sense, but that's where I'm at, and that's what I'm doing. And if you join me here, that's what you're gonna see me doing. And I might get a little intense and crazy, but actually that's normal. That's not just a yarn overwhelm thing. That's a normal thing. Anyway, I'm just rambling. So whatever. At this point, let's just move on, or let's just go. Okay. Yeah, it's time to go. Anyway, I hope you have a fantastic week. I hope it's not another 2 weeks, but it may be. I hope I have something finished to show you next time. If you can, let me know below, like, what you're working on. I love hearing from you guys, and I like making new friends, and I've made a few, and I have some old friends that join me on here, and that's great too. So yeah, anyway, hope you're having a good day. Hope you have a great week, and oh, enjoy the eclipse. I'll talk to you later.